Hey everyone, this is Pete, and welcome back to Atari A to Z, a series of short playthroughs of Atari 8-bit games, some of which I grew up with, and some of which are new to me. Today is one of the former. This is Kid Grid by Tronix, who if you watched last week's episode on Juice, you may recognise some of the names involved with. This was made by the same guy as Juice, in fact. Arti, surname I can't pronounce. So, like Juice, this is a game that takes a certain amount of inspiration from another existing arcade game. Whereas Juice took some inspiration from Q Bert, this one, as we will see, is very much inspired by Konami and Stern's Amidar. So the way this game works is that you walk around this grid, drawing a line as you go, as you pass over the dotted lines. And anytime you enclose a square, it gets filled in and you score points. And those bad guys there are, as you might expect, out to stop you. Like in Amidar, you've got a single button that you can use. In Amidar, it was called a jump button. In this, it's called a stun button, and it's fairly self-explanatory. You press the button, all the enemies are stunned for a moment. And while... that's not a good demonstration. And while they are stunned, you can pass through them. Like that. There we go. And the eventual aim in each screen is, as you might expect, to fill in all the squares. Which I will attempt to demonstrate here. But this is one of those games that, when I was a kid, I don't think I ever finished the first level of. As you can see, it's not terribly easy. Let's give it another go. I can do this. So as you might expect, enclosing that question mark in a filled square gives you some bonus points. This game also came out for a few other platforms. I believe it also came out for Commodore 64, and the graphics for that version were a little bit different, so the main character looked quite different in that one. I'm not entirely sure of the actual original context of what's going on here. It's one of those games where it doesn't really matter though, of course. Whoops. Like in Amidar, you didn't really ask why that gorilla was wandering around. Oh dear, no stuns left. So that wouldn't work, would it? Like in Amidar, you wouldn't ask why the gorilla was going around painting blocks. This is why I never finished the first level when I was a kid. Because it's hard! You may have noticed on the startup screen that, like Juice, this has actually got a few customization options for how you want to play as well. So you can set the number of stuns you have available to start with, and the actual difficulty level that you're playing on as well. This is actually the lowest difficulty level, believe it or not. So I really shudder to think how much harder it is on the other levels. I'm determined to actually finish this level and prove it is possible. However long it takes. No, I do have my limits, but we'll see how we get on. Right, must remember now I have no stuns left, so I should just avoid enemies. Oh dear. You kind of forget how difficult some of these old games were sometimes. Especially if you're accustomed to the way that modern games do things. They're very keen to hold your hand. There we go, done. Beautiful. Yeah, but modern games, very keen to hold your hand. Very keen to allow you to see everything that the developers have worked on. Like your average big budget game these days, it's not in the developer's interests to lock you off from not being able to see the things that the team have worked on, otherwise they might as well not have done them. So that's why we have such generous sort of continuing checkpoint systems and things these days, whereas here the whole game is made from the same very simple bits and pieces. It just gets harder as you go through, so it has no real incentive to be nice to the player. And oh, it most certainly is not nice to the player. I always like the sound effects in this. There's some of those sound effects that are really repetitive, but they're very distinctive. Like, I could hear the sounds of this game and I'd immediately know it was Kid Grid. The same was true of Juice, actually. That had very distinctive sound effects and music as well. Even though, again, as with a lot of Atari 8-bit games, it made use of sort of classical pieces of music rather than original compositions. The only real music in this one is the little sort of jazzy theme you get when you run out of lives. Oh no, there's also the theme when you start, isn't there? Which, again, is a classical piece. I forget the name of it offhand, but yeah, it's certainly not an original composition. Oh no. I was just about to say, I'm getting noticeably better at this, aren't I? Are you enjoying it? But no. Right, one more try. Maybe two more tries. You got to time that stun really carefully because it doesn't last very long at all. No! There's a fly in the room with me. I do apologise if you can hear that. Yeah, two more tries. Alright, here we go. I haven't really determined if there's sort of an effective strategy in this. So I know in... Oh no! I know in games like Pac-Man and such like there's a distinct strategy that pro players like to follow in order to manipulate the AI and such like and find an optimal route around things. But obviously here, since we're on a grid with no variation, you have to behave in a more sort of reactive way, responding to the things that are coming towards you with anticipate what's likely to happen, make good use of those stuns when you can, and stay out of trouble as much as possible. Go away! Oh! I've got one life left. No stuns though. Now, I've seen screenshots of the Commodore 64 version, which actually has some differently shaped levels rather than just this grid all the time. So, honestly, as you can see, because this is so difficult, I don't actually know if that is implemented in quite the same way in the 8-bit version here, the Atari 8-bit version. It would make sense, I guess, because it would make things more challenging as you progress through the game. But at my current ability level, I don't think we're really likely to ever see that. You might notice that your stuns do refill with every level, so that is something at least. Not sure if there's a extra life system The games from this era, it was kind of traditional for extra lives to come at about 10,000 points. But we're quite a way off that at the moment, so... I'm getting tense now, because this is actually the best I've ever done in this game. Come on, clear it while they're all over there. Oh my god. I've actually cleared 2 levels of Kid Grid. Amazing. Well, there we go. So that is Kid Grid from Tronix, which is a fun game, especially if you enjoy Amidar and such like. Worth a play. Very, very, very addictive, despite its simplicity, as you can see. That's about it, really. Yeah, hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again next time.